Black men in suits with briefcases.
Yeah.
Would you be afraid of them?
The real question here is, are people allowed to navigate the world based on their own reasoning?
It seems like
What? Why would you not answer that fucking question? Are people able to navigate the world based on their own reasoning? What? She laid out like a super good question, and he comes in with this like generic, vague posting question. Right? Let's listen to this again.
In suits with briefcases.
This is the kind of shit that drives me crazy with people who fucking pretend they're critical thinkers. I shouldn't say pretend, that's probably a little harsh. But they present as critical thinkers, as being thorough, and then they ask the dumbest fucking questions that don't have anything relevant to what she actually just said. I just, again, I'm trying to steel man, and maybe there's something even I'm missing here. But this comparison is just, it's so dumb. Like, what is happening? Why would you make see? This is the kind of shit I'm talking about. How do you watch this and think like, this guy's pretty thorough, bro? I really like how sophisticated he is. Like, it's so ridiculous. All right, we're gonna start out with this video. So, I pre-watched this a little bit. This is Warren Smith. I tend to be really skeptical of this guy because, and this is a little bit, what would you say, feelings-based, in the sense that I can't directly point to another instance of where this happened. I'm sure I could if I looked through his videos, but just off the top of my head, I can't think of something. But sometimes he strikes me as one of those people who wants to be like a critical thinker. He wants to sell himself as someone who thinks thoroughly about things. But then when you actually listen to what he's saying, it's not, at least not always, that thorough, or really that thorough at all. All right.
can you tell me what per capita means?
Okay. Audio seems to be working okay. If it echoes, that's probably my fault. So,
Can you tell me what per capita means, Charlie?
No.
Wow, people.
okay. Before we get going, I am going to look up myself what per capita means, because I think I have like an idea, sort of, kind of, maybe. But I want to make sure I have this, and then I'll put it off to the, like, a side screen so I can reference it because I think it comes up again. I think it means like, I think it's like, it has something to do with like a percentage within a percentage or something like that. For each person in relation to people taken individually, relating to or applied to each person. Okay. Per capita is, I know you guys can't see this. Per capita is a Latin phrase literally meaning by heads or for each head, and idiomatically used to mean per person. The term is used, I'll just pull this up actually. Why don't we just add this to the tabs? The term is used in a wide variety of social sciences and statistical research contexts, including government statistics, economic indicators, and built environment studies. It is commonly used in the field of statistics in place of saying per person, although per caput is the Latin for per head. I'm trying to get to how it's, that's not what we wanted to go to yet. I'm trying to get to how it's relevant, I guess. Let's see, why is per capita relevant? Okay. Per capita is used when comparing definition. The term per capita is utilized to express the average amount of something allocated per individual in a population, often employed in economic and statistical analysis to standardize and compare figures across different groups. Per capita is used when comparing a certain economic metric to a population. The most common instances of per capita are GDP per capita and income per capita. Per capita information provides more granular data than just aggregate information. It is often used as an apples-to-apples comparison between countries with different population sizes. Per capita information is often contrasted, with median information, which provides a clearer picture as it considers outliers. So I'm trying to get to like an example. It means that amount per person. Per capita is a term primarily used to determine house. The median income is the income level in the very middle of a list of incomes. Exactly half of the people are considered to earn above the median income figure, while the other half earn below the number. Real median household income in the U.S. in 2023 was $78,538, whereas per capita income was lower at $43,289. Per capita expresses the average number for all of the citizens in a particular country or area. Therefore, it can be a misleading number because it includes everyone from infants to older citizens and fails to account for statistical outliers. The median income in this instance will take into account any outliers. Okay, so what I'm getting from this is like per capita isn't necessarily as accurate because it's saying that I'm getting that it's taking into account an excess number of factors or incorrect factors for the statistic that's being observed or analyzed. Per capita and poverty. The World Bank issues data on total GDP and GDP per capita, but each statistic can provide a conflicting perspective on the economic state of a country and the wealth of its people. According to some economists, a country's aggregate economic growth or its overall GDP is not what matters when the concern is the poverty level of individuals in the country. For example, if an outlet reports that the world's GDP grew by 3%, it may sound like great news, but it would fail to take into consideration that the world's population grew by 1.5%, making the GDP number less impressive. For countries where the population is not increasing rapidly, the difference between GDP per capita growth and total GDP growth is minimal. However, for countries, okay, here, well, I'll just go on this. Examples of per capita is also used as an application for countries. For example, U.S. GDP was $27.72 trillion in 2023, according to the latest data from the World Bank. The U.S. population in the same period was approximately 334.91 million. That results in a GDP per capita of $82,769. China, meanwhile, had a GDP of around $17.79 trillion in 2023. However, China has far more people than the United States, so the per capita GDP for China is just $12,614. Thus, using per capita GDP shows that most Chinese citizens are still earning far less than the average American despite the country's aggregate output. Okay, so it's like a way, it sounds like it's just like a way to understand how things are analyzed like on an individual level as opposed to like a group level. To calculate per capita, simply divide the figure or value in question by the size of the population. Okay, so let's think of how this might be relevant for something like crime, because I think this might come up. So if you had a per capita number, okay, I think I see where this is going now. So if you were to make some kind of like argument based on, like, let's say you said like, and this is just like hypothetical. I'm not saying this is true or whatever. I don't have data on this stuff. But if you were to try to make an argument that, let's say, white people commit more crime, right? Because they commit like whatever. Let's say there's 100,000 robberies a year, and you say, okay, well, how many robberies are done by white people? And then you say, okay, well, it's 70,000. You say, oh, well, they're more likely to steal stuff or whatever, right? So then you would look at that, and then you would say, okay, well, what about some other race, whatever, Hispanics? So then you would say, well, Hispanics only, account for 30,000 of the robberies. So doesn't that mean that white people commit robberies more than Hispanic people? Sort of, but then I think what this is saying is if that were true, and then you look at the per capita numbers, and it turned out that like there were 200 or a million white people, but only 80,000 Hispanic people. Well, then you would say like, okay, well then more Hispanic people are committing robbery. Now, even if that, again, I don't know if that's true. I'm just saying I think that's where this might go, and I think the reason I think that might matter. For a couple reasons. First of all, when it comes to stuff like crime, I suspect that kind of thing is like really complicated. So even if you could prove a number like that, that doesn't necessarily indicate some kind of like racial difference that we should be racist about, obviously, because there's plenty, right? So like if you had a group of people who were again, we'll go back to like the Hispanic thing. If Hispanics turned out to commit like more of a certain crime, it doesn't necessarily mean we should discriminate against Hispanic people. It doesn't even necessarily mean that, and this is the key thing, it doesn't mean that them being Hispanic is what makes them commit more crime. Again, it's just a hypothetical. I just want to emphasize that. All it means there is that you see these numbers as they exist, right? But again, it doesn't obviously mean that the Hispanic, it's the thing that, it doesn't mean that because they're Hispanic, that's why they're doing it. But it also is relevant too, because it can influence how people treat other people. So if you wanted to make like a per capita argument, it's not only just that you say like, well, it's not necessarily the race that does it. It's because of behavior, or it's because of an economic situation, or it's because they're not enough responsibilities taken, yada yada. You can have those arguments. You can say, but the thing is, those arguments apply to all criminals across all races. So it's not the race that's making somebody do that crime, right? It's that type. It's like a type of behavior. So and I think he actually gets to this, and I hope that makes sense. I don't know if I'm explaining myself well, but he gets to this in a second, because Andrew here, I think what he does throughout this, and this is only based on what Warren is saying, but he'll do this thing where so, and again, if I don't have like the full definition of this, somebody correct me on this, but I think I have an understanding of what it is. With that said, what Andrew, I think, is going to do here, again, based on just what Warren is presenting it as, I'm not actually critiquing, in some sense, I'm not fully critiquing Andrew Wilson here or this girl over here, because I'm just looking at the Warren Smith's version of the clip. So maybe there's something I'm missing here. Back to what I was saying. What Andrew, I think, is going to do here is he's going to try to make a claim of, basically he's going to talk about like, okay, well, if you're like a black person, or if you see like a black group of black people across the street, that would mean that it would be like reasonable to go as far away from them as possible so you can avoid that group of black people because of some type of like statistic on crime or whatever. The issue with that, again, assuming I'm right about that, I'll confirm by watching this again. The issue with that is there's like again, this is like a prescription-description problem, if I'm using these terms correctly, right? Just because you have a certain set of facts and information, it doesn't necessarily tell you what you do with those facts, right? So when somebody says something like, oh, we should talk about the statistics of like what race commits more crime, that's fine. We can talk about that. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't also talk about what we do with those statistics, what we infer from those statistics, et cetera, et cetera. So Andrew will talk about that. And the thing is, if you see a group of black people and you walk away from them because you're alone at night, that isn't necessarily racist if you're doing it because you're in danger per se, right? That's the issue. If you're doing it because you think black people are more likely to hurt me, that's probably a little racist. But if you're doing it because you think there's a bunch of strong fucking dudes and they outnumber me and I'm going to get my ass kicked, that's totally reasonable. Whether you do that for black people, Hispanics, it doesn't fucking matter. Walk away. And that gender gets brought up too. If it's not unreasonable to walk away from like a man, for example, if you're a woman, assuming that like it's a situation where the averages are playing out, often because men are stronger than women, right? That's the issue, is that like you are outperformed in strength, right? So if you want to focus on that as the reason to like walk away, yeah, that's like totally fine. I totally understand that. So anyway, I say all that for context, but I will start watching this because there's some other stuff that Warren Smith does that it just pisses me off. So let's watch.
Can you tell me what per capita means, Charlie?
No.
Wow, people have been asking me to take a look at this debate between Charlie and Andrew Wilson. I don't think she knows what hit her. But if you strip away the noise, this went very badly for her.
If a young woman
Okay, first of all, again, I think I'm not necessarily saying this is like always bad, but I really don't like the way Warren just starts us off with like, wow, oh my gosh. Because we're already setting the table, I think, in like an emotional way to veer the audience in a certain direction. So I'm not saying you can't ever start a video like this, but because of this and combined with the other things, it makes me a little skeptical that consciously or not, what he's actually doing here is playing like into a certain crowd that wants to hear this kind of thing.
But if you strip away the noise,
Now, I'm not. That's a little bit of a peripheral critique. That might be like a little too hard on them. But when you combine it with the other stuff, it's like we'll call it a red flag at the very least, maybe a yellow flag.
this went very badly for her.
if a young woman
Because I'm not saying I've never like looked at something and said, "Wow," right?
But if you strip away the noise, this went very badly for her.
Although, what the fuck? What does strip away the noise mean? I don't know what that means.
if a young woman is walking down the street and she's walking by a group of young rowdy looking men, would you go ahead and advise her to cross the street?
Yeah, if it was my little sister, absolutely.
Of course. And so you would advise her to be sexist. Mm-hmm. So then why wouldn't that apply to race?
Again, the reason what matters here is why you walked away. If you walked away because you're in danger per se, that's good enough. That's good enough. Now, if you walked away from it because like you hate black people or you hate men, yeah, obviously both of those are bad things.
Advise her to be sexist. Mm-hmm. So then why wouldn't that apply to race?
Why is it wrong for me to adjust my behavior just based on intuition and pattern recognition? That's the question.
Again, it's not necessarily wrong to do those things, but the issue is, what's the pattern that we're talking about?
I don't know how to say this other than
What's the intuition? Is the intuition I don't want to be safe, or is the intuition I don't like black people?
I think you only get harangued by black people as a white person if you're being real weird.
Okay, that sounds so unfathomably stupid. This is not a good answer, okay? Obviously, there are situations in which white people can get fucked up by black people. Like, we don't have to be some fucking... You can be relatively on the left with things and say shit that's just like common sense, right? I mean, that term is kind of overrated because like common sense is different to different people, but you know what I mean?
Like, I think you have
Kyle Kalinske pointed that out, and I hadn't thought of that previously a while ago, and I was like, that's kind of a good point.
to get harangued by black people as a white person if you're being real weird.
Okay, also, just a definition check real quick. I assume that harangued just means like attack or something, right? Let's see. I actually can't find what this word means. A lengthy and aggressive speech, lecture someone at length in an aggressive and critical manner. Okay, I can't find much on that one. Oh well.
You only get harangued by
If I'm missing something there, let me know.
black people as a white person if you're being real weird. Like, I think you have to be like,
What?
Because this was a 6-hour debate, they don't notice how badly this actually went for her. Had this debate just been 1 hour long, this would have ended her.
If
Depends
all
on
of
where you
if
are.
all
Okay, again, this is so random, but like, it just feels like one of the things. Like, why say that? Because if you're gonna say something like that, and maybe he does this later and I missed it, you need to also encourage the audience, like, watch the whole thing. So you can see what I'm talking about. But it's like, again, this is what I mean. It's like a lack of thoroughness. He presents as like a critical thinker, as someone who's thorough and all that shit. And then he does this, where he's just like, I'm just going to tell you that this was a 6-hour debate, and if this would have ended badly had it not been that long. It's like, okay, well, why not also say, like, if you guys think I'm wrong about that, then go watch it. Like, I know every once in a while he will say stuff like that, or he'll be like, "Please tell me where I'm wrong." But this would have been a good example, a good spot to do something like that.
Had this debate just been 1 hour long, this would have ended her.
If
Depends
all
on
of
where you
if
are.
all of the
Again.
things that you're
Again.
if all the things you're
Again.
informed on, all right, are telling you exactly the opposite
Sorry.
that you're
1
Say,
hour
Rick.
long, this would have ended her.
if
Depends
all
on
of
where you
if
are.
all of the
Again.
things that you're
Again.
if all the things you're
Again.
informed on, all right, are telling you exactly the opposite, and you would advise your little sister to be sexist, why shouldn't I advise my little brother to be racist in that situation?
And I don't even think this would meet the threshold of racism.
I think it depends upon where you are. Again, if you are seeing a group of young men, regardless of race, who just seem like they're dudes out having a fun time, or if it looks like it could be gang activity related or something like that, I think, like, you just have to make judgment calls there.
I don't think that's that unreasonable of an answer. She's basically saying what I'm saying, right? Which is like, you have to you have to analyze the situation based on safety and then go from there. Race regardless.
And that can be regardless of race.
Is it racist to do? Is it racist to cross the street because you see a group of young black men?
If you saw a group of young black men in suits with briefcases,
Yeah.
would you be afraid of them?
The real question here is,
Hang on. Okay, first of all, I don't know what exactly the point she's trying to make here, but if she's trying to say what I think she's trying to say, that's a really good point. Because what she's pointing to is, if you saw a group of black guys who were dressed nice, who were presenting in a non-threatening way, it might be more reasonable to cross the street. I don't want to put words in her mouth. Maybe she's not saying that. But that would be a logical place to take that.
Black men in suits with briefcases,
Yeah.
would you be afraid of them?
the real question here is, are people allowed to navigate the world based on their own reasoning?
It seems like
What? Why would you not answer that fucking question? Are people able to navigate the world based on their own reasoning? What? She laid out like a super good question, and he comes in with this like generic, vague posting question. Right? Let's listen to
Men
this again.
in suits with briefcases, would
This is the kind of shit that drives me crazy with people who fucking pretend they're critical thinkers. I shouldn't say pretend, that's probably a little harsh. But they present as critical thinkers, as being thorough, and then they ask the dumbest fucking questions that don't have anything relevant to what she actually just said.
would you be afraid of them?
The real question here is, are people allowed to navigate the world based on their own reasoning?
it seems like
Yes, Warren. Yeah, they are. But she's giving you a different framework of reasoning. What are we talking about? Are you going to address that at all?
Are people allowed to navigate the world based on their own reasoning?
it seems like we're saying the same thing. You would advise if it was a young group of men, your sister to cross the street, and if somebody advised that it's black men and advised their little brother to cross the street based on all of the experience data that they have, I don't really understand. I still don't really understand the distinction.
Because one is based on the fact that women get sexually harassed fairly frequently.
Okay, sorry. I have to do my classic rewind because I got a little fired up there.
Navigate
and
the
then I
world
stopped paying attention
based
to
on
what
their
Andrew
own
was saying.
reasoning.
It seems like we're saying the same thing. You would advise if it was a young group of men, your sister to cross the street, and if somebody advised that it's black men and advised their little brother to cross the street based on all of the experience data that they have, I don't really understand. I still don't really understand the distinction.
So this is another important part too, and this is kind of what I was talking about earlier. It depends on it depends on how you interpret the data. If you just look at the data on a surface level and think, this person that looks like this commit more crime, therefore I be scared of this person, end of story. You can do that, or you can ask yourself, what is the core of my fear here?
Because one is based on the fact that women get sexually harassed.
I just want to hear his direct question.
I don't really understand. I still don't really understand the distinction.
Okay, so I think he's asking, like, what's the distinction between walking across and being afraid of someone who's black versus a woman avoiding, like, a man on the street or something like that.
Because one is based on the fact that women get sexually harassed fairly frequently. I don't know.
And the
many
other one
white
is based
guys.
on the fact that
I
there's
don't know
interracial
many-
violence fairly frequently.
Okay, 13% of the American population is black, and regardless of how far we've advanced, most populations are not mixed. Most areas are still fairly segregated. What are the chances of white guys experiencing being assaulted by black men to the same degree as women being assaulted by men?
Why would it need to be the same degree?
Yes,
Okay, let's look at her question again.
10% of the American population is black, and regardless of how far we've advanced, most populations are not mixed. Most areas are still fairly segregated.
I'm not sure if that's true. That would be interesting to look into.
What are the chances of white guys experiencing being assaulted by black men?
What are the chances of white guys being assaulted by black men?
Guys experiencing being assaulted by black.
Hang on, make sure I got that.
What are the chances of white guys experiencing being assaulted by black men to the same degree as women being assaulted by men?
Why would it need to be the same degree?
Okay. She's fallen into a little bit of a trap here. She shouldn't have taken this line of reasoning, because now I feel like she's going to have to go along, because what it sounds like she's going to get into now is basically, well, do the stats line up such that your decision is reasonable? And the reason this might not go well for her because it's not actually entirely relevant. Again, what's relevant is, why are you scared? What's the core of why you're scared? In both instances, it's because you feel like there's some sort of power imbalance. And you can have that thought without pinning it on a race either way. So if I was her, I would have not gone down this line of thinking, this line of questioning, because it's not important. Even if he's right, it's not important.
The chances of white guys experiencing being assaulted by black men to the same degree as women being assaulted by men?
Why would it need to be the same degree?
yes,
And to the degree it is important, you can make an argument. I'm not saying it's like not important at all. I'm saying it's not important to like the fear aspect of it. We can have conversations about what those stats actually mean, what causes those kind of things, yada yada yada. There's conversations that could be had about that. But even if you have conversations, even if you want to make some kind of argument like, well, the black community needs to be better at doing this, this, this. The black community needs to be better at doing this, this, this. And then you look at other white people who are in very similar economic situations, cultural situations, yada, 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 and they're doing the same behavior. Even if it's 80% black people that are doing the behavior and 20% white people that are doing the behavior, even if you have that large discrepancy in the data, the common thing isn't their skin color. The common thing is the behavior or their economic situation. So again, it's not the fucking race. It's not the immutable characteristic. It's not.
Are still fairly segregated. What are the chances of white guys experiencing being assaulted by black men to the same degree as women being assaulted by men?
Why would it need to be the same degree?
yes, that makes no sense. And I'm not going to adjust my behavior according to the likelihood that you dictate.
How?
I'm sorry, what?
What are the chances of white guys experiencing being assaulted by black men to the same degree as women being assaulted by men?
Why would it need to be the same degree?
Yes, that makes no sense. And I'm not going to adjust my behavior according to the likelihood that you dictate.
Okay. Maybe he's trying to like critique her here. But what I'm getting is he's asking why. Let me just make sure I read this one more time to make sure, because I'm pretty sure he's going after her, but there's a little part of it that sounds like maybe he's doing something
Women
different.
being assaulted by men.
Why would it need to be the same degree?
Yes, that makes no sense. And I'm not going to adjust my behavior according to the likelihood that you dictate.
So is he saying that's what she's saying? And he's saying like that's bad to do, to just adjust behavior based on the likelihood that one individual dictates? I'm really not trying to straw man here, because if he's saying that, he might actually agree with what I'm about to say next. Everyone all the time dictates what they do or should based on a societal conversation about how we should change behavior based on a certain set of information. That's just like society. Again, what are we talking about here? Assuming that the steel man I gave him wasn't right and this is what he's doing. This is not critical thinking, dude. This is shallow. It's so shallow. It's shallow to the point that I cannot believe it. You can't see that you just justify behavior based on how other people dictate likely. Like, that's what we all do. We all have a conversation in society about what's more likely and what's not, and we combine that with our intuitions. At least we should. It drives me crazy. There are certain things that people do, okay? I'm trying to think how to word this. There are things that are like objectively bad or worse, right? And I can recognize that. But then we have pet peeves. Holy fuck, this is a pet peeve of mine. When people who want to present as like serious critical thinkers and like doing these, like, oh, let's have a serious conversation about the analysis of the situation. That's the vibe I get from Warren Smith. And then they say shit like this. It's like, how? And we'll get to his comment section in a second because it's insane.
How low of a
It's my behavior according to the likelihood that you dictate.
how low of a chance before I'm not racist when I cross the street? Does it need to be?
How do we determine what that number is?
Like, how low of a chance does it need to be before I'm not racist for crossing the street?
Like,
Okay, see, this is like, if she would have never gotten to this game, she wouldn't have had this problem. And of course, for some reason, Warren should be able to recognize that she's not the right question, but then steer it to the right question and steel man it.
1%. But even
Chance does it need to be before I'm not racist for crossing the street?
like 1%. But even then, I don't think like that'd be 1 in 100 times you
Your
see
chances
black
of
guys out
getting
in
your
public.
chances of getting essayed by a group of men is way less than 1%.
Or sexually harassed or just
Way less than 1%. Way less.
I'm going to respectfully
Did he say assaulted
Then
or
chances of
harassed?
but even then, I don't think like that'd be 1 in 100 times you
Your
see
chances
black
of
guys out
getting
in
your
public.
chances of getting essayed by a group of men is way less than 1%.
Or sexually harassed or just
Way less than 1%. Way less.
I'm going to respectfully disagree.
Yes, so out of
Okay, so a couple things here. One, I want to be clear here that I think this principle is across the board, right? So I'm not just going after people who are thinking that you should think this way. You should have my kind of analysis about only black people or only Hispanics. No, I think this applies. I think this applies also if you're a woman who's like, fuck all men, I hate all men. That's also insane because, and I don't know, I don't know if we have time in this to go down every single statistical thing. I would guess, though, and super take this with a grain of salt, that most women over their lifetime are not going to be sexually harassed. That's a guess. I could be totally fucking wrong about that. Totally fucking wrong. But even if that's wrong, and let's say that that it is more likely, you're still in a spot where if it happens, like somebody catcalls you once or twice, that still doesn't mean all men are assholes, right? Now, there are going to be some, I will say, like, I got to be careful how I say this. I don't want to compare situations. I'll just say this. It's omega understandable. If you are a woman and you get graped like twice, I mean, yeah, anytime you see a guy, like when you're processing that trauma and even after, there's going to be more hesitancy to you, and that's totally fair. But outside of those situations, I think no matter what the stats are, and seriously, if I'm getting this wrong, I'm just guessing. I could be totally wrong. I'm not a woman. I haven't looked at these stats. I could be totally fucking wrong. But I think that it's still like it's not a good idea as a woman, generally speaking, trauma situations aside, to just treat all men like they're going to assault you. That's not. We don't want to live in a society that way. We don't want to blame all men for things. We don't want to blame all women for things. We don't want to blame all white people, all black people, all that kind of stuff. So, yeah.
Or just
Way less than 1%. Way less.
I'm going to respectfully disagree.
Yes. So out of every 100,
Okay.
Less than 1%. Way less.
I'm going to respectfully disagree.
yes. So out of every 100 women that walk down the street, according to Charlie, one of them is going to be assaulted. I'm not sure about that.
We just go off of just.
Well, I'm also
Okay. I don't necessarily mind Warren saying something like, I'm not sure about that. Okay? But I do wish he would have at least said, because I'm not saying in every video has to be like a completely full deep dive, right? Because like I said, I don't know if I have time for that. I don't know. You know what? We'll do a little bit of it just for the sake of like being thorough, because I don't want to be like hypocritical here. So let's see. Let's see. Okay, so like even like look at this. 1 in 5 women in the United States experience completed or attempted rape during their lifetime. Nearly a quarter of men in the U.S. experience some form of contact violence in their lifetime. 81% of women and 43% of men experience some form of sexual harassment and or assault in their lifetime. 1 in 3 male victims of completed or attempted rape experienced it for the first time. Let's see. The thing about like when it comes to So I'm not saying this to like shit on these stats at all, because again, this would be something to look into later. But with these sources, I don't know. I feel like when it comes to things that are like sexual harassment, I feel like that's somewhat subjective. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like that could be anyone from like anywhere from like a guy called me cute to, and I thought he was ugly and he called me cute twice, all the way to like, no, this guy like cat called me and like almost tried to slap my ass. The point I'm trying, forget those specific definitions. The point I'm trying to make here is that like my gut says that it would be tough to know statistically what exactly these stats mean. And I'm just thinking out loud here, so don't anybody fucking ream me for all this kind of shit. If you think I'm like anti-woman or something, just no. But let's see here, because I was trying to get to Okay. So, again, I was totally open to being wrong about this. The point I'm trying to make, though, is like, if he's gonna make a statement like this, at the very least, instead of just saying like,
Just talking about sexual harassment.
What does that mean? They catcall you? We just go.
According to Charlie, one of
Agree.
yes. So out of every 100 women that walk down the street, according to Charlie, one of them is going to be assaulted. I'm not sure about that.
okay. The point I'm trying to make here is that if you're Warren here, you have to do more than just saying, I'm not sure about that. Like, you can't at least do what I did, look for 5 minutes, and then say, here's what some of the numbers said, but maybe there's some statistical difficulties. You couldn't take 15 seconds to say that? Like, this is the kind of shit I'm talking about, dude. Like, it's so flippant.
Fully disagree.
Yes. So out of every 100 women that walk down the street, according to Charlie, one of them is going to be assaulted. I'm not sure about that.
We just go off of just.
Well, I'm also just talking about sexual harassment.
Wait, sorry.
I'm not sure about that.
We just go off of just.
Well, I'm also just talking about sexual harassment.
What does that mean? They catcall you?
Now, I don't know why Andrew has to be so, like, dismissive of this. From what I understand, catcalling is, like, really fucking annoying, and it seems like a lot of women find it degrading. So, the tone he's saying here is just, like, it's just kind of rude.
Bother you, yeah.
They just catcall you?
Yeah.
They catcall you?
Bother you, yeah.
They just catcall you?
Yeah, it's annoying.
If you don't like it, if you find it annoying, that's justification, according to Charlie. But if someone
Justification to, wait, hang on.
looking like Lil Wayne was walking down the street, if I find that annoying, now that's racist.
No.
Yeah. They catcall you?
Bother you, yeah.
They just catcall you?
Yeah, it's annoying.
If you don't like it, if you find it annoying, that's justification, according to Charlie. But if
Justification, I don't understand why he keeps saying this. Justification to what?
about that,
We just go off of just.
Well, I'm also just talking about
going to be assaulted. I'm not sure about that.
We just go off of just.
Well, I'm also just talking about sexual harassment.
What does that mean? They catcall you?
Bother you, yeah.
They just catcall you?
Yeah, it's annoying.
If you don't like it, if you find it annoying, that's justification, according to Charlie. But if
Okay, is he saying it's justification if you find it annoying to walk away? That's justification. But then
someone looking like Lil Wayne was walking down the street, if I find that annoying, now that's racist.
Bro, what? Is he trying? Okay. Let me wrap my head around this. Is he trying to say that someone finding a cat calling annoying and wanting to not be around that person is the same way at looking at someone and not wanting to be around them because of how they dress? That can't be what he's saying. Let me try to steel man it a little more, okay? Man, I got to think on this one. So maybe just generally he's saying that she's saying, if I'm annoyed, I'm allowed to walk. If I'm annoyed by something a guy does, generally, I'm allowed to walk away. But for some reason, I can't be annoyed by somebody looking like Lil Wayne. This comparison is just so dumb. Like it doesn't. It's either one. Even in the Steel Man, like I feel like it lacks detail because if something is annoying that somebody's saying to you, yeah, it's reasonable to walk away. That's not the same thing as looking at a dude who's dressed like Lil Wayne and being annoyed. I just, again, I'm trying to steel man, and maybe there's something even I'm missing here. But this comparison is just, it's so dumb. Like, what is happening? Why would you make, like, see, this is the kind of shit I'm talking about. How do you watch this and think like, this guy's pretty thorough, bro. I really like how sophisticated he is. Like, it's so ridiculous.
Someone looking like Lil Wayne was walking down the street. If I find that annoying, now that's racist.
No
Yeah,
one
so I
likes
mean,
it,
what's
and it can be
who-
scary.
Now, again, if you wanted to make an argument for the clothing thing per se and say, like, typically people that are dressed like this, black or white, are more likely to commit crimes, that would be less racist, I would say. It's not focused on race. But even then, I know plenty of motherfuckers with saggy pants who aren't trying to fucking kill you. Like,
On the street. If I find that annoying, now that's racist.
No
yeah,
one
so I
likes
mean,
it,
what's
and it can be
who,
scary
so
and
what would you
weird
like
because of
less
the
if you were a young
implication.
man to get your ass kicked by a group of young black guys or get catcalled by a group of white dudes?
Notice the language.
all right, let's review Andrew's question one more
Now
time.
that's racist.
No
Yeah,
one
so I
likes
mean,
it,
what's
and it can be
who,
scary
so
and
what would you
weird
like
because of the
less if you were a young
implication.
man to get your ass kicked by a group of young black guys or get catcalled by a group of white dudes?
Notice
I don't understand what, like, why frame the question that way? Because a better way to frame the question would be, would you rather get physically hurt, right, by anyone, or would you rather get, essentially, S-aid or S harassed by anyone? Yeah, I mean, obviously, most people are going to pick, like, words over the physical violence. But again, like, why bring the race part into
To get
this?
your ass kicked by a group of young black guys or get catcalled by a group of white dudes?
So she can answer that question by just saying, like, she can say, yes, I would rather get catcalled by the white guys than the black dudes, but not because they're black or white. It's because physical violence by anyone would hurt more in this situation. And if you made it a white dude assaulting me or a black guy catcalling, I'm going to pick the black guy because that in that situation, the variable of pain is still the same. The black guy catcalling me is not as bad as the white guy beating me up because the problem is the pain, not the race.
For a young man to get your ass kicked by a group of young black guys or get catcalled by a group of white dudes?
Notice the language. Scary and weird are now qualifiers when it suits her versus men.
What?
That's racist.
No
yeah,
one
so I
likes
mean,
it,
what's
and it can be
who,
scary
so
and
what would you
weird
like
because of the
less if you were a young
implication.
man to get your ass kicked by a group of young black guys or get catcalled by a group of white dudes? Young
Is he
man to-
critiquing
No,
like the
that's racist.
3 seconds of language issues here as they're like talking at the same time? How can you even derive anything from that?
No
yeah,
one
so I
likes
mean,
it,
what's
and it can be
who,
scary
so
and
what would you
weird
like
because of
less
the
if you were a young man?
implication.
Annoying now. That's
Okay,
racist.
I'm trying to figure out what she says before scary and weird.
No
Yeah,
one
so I
likes
mean,
it,
what's
and it can be
who,
scary
so
and
what would you
weird
like?
I don't know what she's saying.
If I find that annoying, now that's racist.
No
yeah,
one
so I
likes
mean,
it,
what's
and it can be
who,
scary
so
and
what would you
weird
like
because of
less
the
if you were a young
implication.
man to get your ass kicked by a group of young black guys or get catcalled by a group of white dudes?
Also, notice how I haven't seen this, or I don't remember. Is he going to address the meat of this question at all and talk about the sophisticatedness of this question at all?
Notice the language. Scary and weird are now qualifiers when it suits her versus men.
Scary and weird are qualifiers when it suits her versus men. Okay, maybe I'm just missing. I don't know. I don't want to go back through this whole thing. Maybe he's referring to something to before where she said you can't use that to describe other
Language.
things.
Scary and weird are now qualifiers when it suits her versus men.
Maybe she said you can't use those for concerns of men. I don't know.
Language. Scary and weird are now qualifiers when it suits her versus men.
I mean, the likelihood of a group of black guys beating you up, again, at most they might say mean things to you. That's probably maybe.
At the
I don't
most,
know.
they might say mean things to you, that other group of men that you're avoiding. But you would still recommend the kids or your kid sister to cross the street to engage in the sexism.
Okay.
Her versus men.
I mean, the likelihood of a group of black guys beating you up, again, at most they might say mean things to you. That's probably maybe.
At the
I don't
most, they
know.
might say mean things to you, that other group of men that you're avoiding. But
Okay. Again, though, I feel like the variable here is still like, is it a situation in which violence is a problem, race regardless,
Maybe.
or harassment? Is it physical or emotional harm? Is that a thing that you want to avoid, yes or no, regardless of race?
the most, they might say mean things to you, that other group of men that you're avoiding. But you would still recommend the kids or your kid sister to cross the street to engage in the sexism.
It's only sexism if the intent is to do it because you like hate men or something.
And yet, for some reason, when somebody uses her to cross the street to engage in the sexism, and yet, for some reason, when somebody uses the same argument from the racial lens, you're like, no, 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 no.
This is extremely hypocritical.
And it's like, that's a very inconsistent
Because
position.
it's not based on reality.
It is based on reality. What reality is it not based
There's
on?
I do not hear of like interracial beat ups. Like, do you have any statistics? Sorry.
All right, now she's walked into it. All they have to do is bring.
I actually do kind of agree with him here. I think she's walked into it because she should have never taken this route. If she would have not taken this route, or actually, again, even if it is true, there may be other places she can go with this. Now I forget how
Like,
this,
do you have any
what this turns into
statistics?
exactly.
Sorry.
All right, now she's walked into it. All they have to do is bring up the data. Real quick, the sponsor of this video, Genesis Gold. If the
Okay, gold.
to get your free copy. That's warrensmithgold.com. But it's important to note that Charlie doesn't even know what per capita means, which is really important when we're talking about data.
Black.
Can you tell me what per capita means, Charlie?
No.
No. Okay. I didn't think so. Super important to understand this,
No.
right?
When it
Because
comes to
even if
sex,
it's the
yeah.
case that most SA crimes happen within your own race, that could very well be true.
Mm-hmm.
What you'd really be looking at, though, is the per capita percentage.
Sure.
So,
Yeah, let's get that then.
Yeah.
Now, Andrew does something smart here. He asks her, okay, if the data is the opposite of what you think, will you change your mind?
Okay, so this is just a little bit of advice I would have to going into any debates like this. Know your fucking data. That's the first thing. Secondly, if you're going to know your data, it's not just enough to know the data. You also have to know how to compare it to other data. You also have to know how exactly to interpret the data. You have to know how to take the description and move it into something we ought to do behaviorally in the world.
He asks her, okay, if the data is the opposite of what you think, will you change your mind?
Want to know if it were the case that interracially they attacked white women far more than white men attacked black women, then wouldn't you?
Sorry, it's
Want to know if it were the case that interracially they attacked white women far more than white men attacked black women, then wouldn't you give the advice to your little sister to cross the street?
Yeah, if that was a thing that was happening where sure, like black men are just out there hunting white women like animals.
What she should have said there, again, is she should just go to, like, if it's a dangerous situation, period, and I'm noticing signs of danger, period, I'm going to advise people do certain behaviors to avoid the danger. And if you're doing that just because someone is a certain skin color, you're racist. She could have easily just said that.
where sure, like black men are just out there hunting white women like animals, I
Well,
guess I would.
You see,
But-
hang on. Did you see how you just characterized that with a terrible straw man? Did I say anything about black men hunting down white people like animals?
Essaying.
Okay, I don't know if he said that.
Did I say
Essaying.
anything
You
about
said
them hunting?
essaying white women.
Did I say anything about them doing that?
She cannot
Okay. Did he say the hunting thing? I don't think so. But
Black women, then wouldn't you give the advice to your little sister to cross the street?
Yeah, if that was a thing that was happening, where sure, like black men are
is the opposite of what you think. Will you change your mind?
I want to know if it were the case that interracially they attacked white women far more than white men attacked black women.
okay, so he does bring up like black men attacking white women.
White people like animals?
essaying.
Did I say
Essaying.
anything
You
about
said
them hunting?
essaying white women.
Did I say anything about them doing that?
He literally did. Am I going crazy?
She cannot contend with this. She claims, well, by recognizing that fact, you are insinuating a larger narrative.
Oh, Warren, music to my ears. I love these kind of analysis, okay? It is not necessarily true to talk about stats like this, whether they say black people did more of this, Hispanic did more of this, white people did more of this. It's not necessarily an issue to talk about it. And talking about it does not necessarily insinuate that you ought to behave in a certain way. But Andrew is coming across like you ought to come across in or you ought to behave based on these set of stats. So, now, to be fair to Warren here, I just realized this. I'm trying to think how to word this. Let me go over what he says one more time. Oops.
Saying white women.
Did I say anything about them doing that?
She cannot contend with this. She claims, well, by recognizing that fact, you are insinuating a larger narrative.
Okay, let's see what she says.
No, but the implication.
No, so you just made, no, there's no implication of that either. Just an implication.
The implication is
of
that
the
black men are sexual predators.
No, the
and-
implication
and
is only.
uniquely violent.
What, okay, how is that implied? If it's the case that more black people do commit more R crimes than white people do, how is that anything other than a fact?
I actually don't know if I necessarily disagree with this. I think it is a fact. But the problem is, again, we're talking about the prescriptions of walking across the street. And why you walk across the street could be indicative of other or influence other thought processes. Not necessarily, but it's worth a conversation.
And when that fails, she just claims, well, no, it's not a fact. You haven't even looked at the data yet.
Well, it's not a fact.
It is a fact.
It's not.
I mean, she's walking right into it.
Charlie, it's worse than you could ever imagine.
What do you mean?
You're about to find out when Brian pulls up the stats. It's worse than you could ever imagine.
Okay, well, will you concede that not all convicted sex criminals are guilty of what they have done?
Of course.
Okay.
Now she's trying to make an argument for why we can't actually trust the data.
But
Is
will
it
you
not true
concede?
that we have a justice system?
Well, hang on. But will you concede that most of the people who are convicted of the crimes that they committed those crimes? Because
I'm not sure, actually.
Even when he's willing to recognize the possibility of some false convictions, most convictions are probably fair. She can't even agree to that.
So don't believe all women.
That's not what I'm saying.
He's able to trap her here in her own argument. Suddenly, people get convicted all the time, wrongly.
Well, I don't
I
understand.
think that you should.
Should
trust
I believe
victims.
all women or not?
Wait,
He's able to trap her here in her own argument. Suddenly, people get convicted all the time, wrongly.
Well, I don't
I
understand.
think that you should.
Should
trust
I believe
victims.
all women or not?
You know what? I'm gonna be real with you here. No.
Yeah, fuck no.
I think that you should actively, when someone
Right.
makes accusations,
Yeah.
you should be careful, but you should also investigate, because I have seen false accusations fly.
Yeah.
And then
Okay, so here's the thing with that line of the argument. It depends on what you mean by believe, right? Because if my friend comes to me and is like, hey, this happened, I'm going to definitely say to them, like, yeah, I'm going to believe you in the sense that I'm going to validate your feelings. I'm going to trust you as a friend. But if you asked me in a court of law sense, should you believe all women? Well, no, of course not. That's stupid. You shouldn't believe anybody through anything unless a trial happens. But that is a radically different question of, like, how do you treat someone in the moment, right? And again, I don't know, this kind of thoroughness has got to be addressed with these kind of questions.
You should also investigate, because I have seen false accusations fly.
Yeah.
Careful, but I think that you should actively, when someone
Right.
makes accusations,
Yeah.
you should be careful, but you should also investigate, because I have seen false accusations fly.
Yeah.
and then
Sorry.
Also investigate, because I
Last
have
rewind.
seen false accusations fly.
Yeah.
And then Brian presents the data.
Finally, I apologize for the delay. I think Google might have been suppressing it. I had to go to X. And this is from a Bureau of Justice Statistics,
First of all, red flag, we got this from Twitter or X.
National Crime Victimization
Not necessarily saying that's wrong, I'm just saying.
Survey from 2018.
For the sake of this,
Let's see.
Statistics, National Crime Victimization Survey.
Sorry,
And this
I
is
just want
for
to
the delay. I
be
think
clear on
Google
where exactly this
might
is
have been
from.
suppressing it. I had to go to X. And this is from a Bureau of Justice Statistics, National Crime Victimization Survey from 2018.
Okay. First of all, red flag here, yellow flag. Survey. Okay, victimization survey. I'm not sure how accurate this kind of survey is. Again, so these are the kind of questions we should be asking. When they come on screen, these are the kind of questions we should be asking, right? Okay, so that's one question.
for the sake of this conversation, we're going to assume this is correct.
Well,
Why? Why do you have to assume it's correct? Why? Why not look into it? I don't understand. I don't understand. This is a 10-minute and 28-second video. Are you telling me that you could not have taken the time to go 1 minute more after you've done a couple minutes of research and shown why it's true or false? It's such bullshit. It's such bullshit. I fucking hate when people do shit like this. I can't fucking stand it. So you know what we're going to do? We're going to actually look into it. We are going to be statistician reviewers, okay? Let's see. And look, I'm not promising we're going to come out of this with some kind of fucking answer, but I tell you what we're not going to do is we're not going to take 2 goddamn seconds to look at something and go, we're just going to assume this is true. Oh, I hate it. I hate it. I fucking hate it, dude. It drives me crazy. It drives me fucking insane. On the left, on the right, humans, crocodiles, aliens, fucking species, AI. I hate it. I hate it when people do shit like this. Okay? I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. Is this... am I being rage baited right now? Let's see. Race on race crime stats. It's not even, it's the thing is, it's not even about it being right or wrong. It's the fact that he fucking said that. God, it just makes me so fucking mad. This is 2019. And the reason it makes me so mad is because as a content creator, you have a responsibility to be fucking thorough. I'm not saying you have to, like, every single thing you have to be a fucking expert on, but, like, holy shit. I just don't buy that this dude couldn't have taken 20 fucking minutes to provide more of an explanation as to why he thinks what he thinks. I just don't fucking buy it. I don't buy it. Okay. For some reason, we only have 2023. Who the fuck are these people? I don't know what this website is. What the fuck is this website? All right, I don't know. I just hang with me. I'm trying to find this website. I'm trying to find something reliable for this. All right, so I'm using AI for this, but not for like information. I'm just trying to get to a website. Dun, 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 dun. What about 20? Okay. Why am I looking at 2026? It's like fucking 4 months into this month. Why would they know? Where's the updated data for this? Wait, what if I did this? I have an idea. I don't want to do anything like pre-COVID because I feel like that has just the likelihood to change some shit. Come on. How do I find this? Okay. What if I just go to FBI.com? Jesus. This is unbelievable that I can't. These are great stats, but they're just a little old. I think they seem good. What if I did this? What if I just did 20? That page does not seem to exist. Well, go fuck yourself then. Oh, good God. Let's see. I guess we could go with these 2023 stats, but I really don't want to do that. I mean, it's definitely better than nothing. Show me race on race crime. Oh, there's a new definition of grape. Wait, is there? I might be wrong. The revised grape definition encompasses additional circumstances beyond the parameters of the legacy definition. Interesting. Yeah, I don't want press releases. I want the fucking numbers, brother. I want the fucking numbers, man. I'm going to lose my mind. No, don't print it. I don't even have a printer. Jesus. Oh, wait. Are we getting somewhere? Did fucking Sleepy Joe hide the crime statistics or something? Okay, this is from... Maybe this will work. Okay, all right. Hang on. We're getting there. Okay. Let's do this. Okay, all right. I think we actually might be getting somewhere. Crime. Okay, show me the... I need a table that shows race and race crime from either 2023 or 2024. Let me try this again. I need a table. Wait, why does it not? Okay. Aha. Burglary, trespassing. Let's see. I feel like we're getting there. Okay, this actually might be what I'm looking for. Based on victims' perceptions of offenders' race or Hispanic origin, more violent incidents. I don't. You know what I just realized? I don't even know why I'm looking fucking pre-COVID, because he's looking at something from 2018, isn't he? Yeah, this is 2018. God, am I being too thorough? No such thing, maybe? I don't know. Anyway. Okay, I'm gonna try for a little more. Number and percent of violent incidents in offenders. Man. Okay, wait, this actually might be. What the? Why? Why do you not do this? Why do you not do this? This thing is saying that they stopped doing it in like a PD or like a basically a what did they say? This AI thing says they stopped. They no longer publish these as simple HTML tables. Why? Why do you do that? It's so much easier to read when you do that. Go to the Documents and Downloads section of the FBI. Okay. What? All right. This is going to be the last little thing I do before I just quit and use the 2019 because it's newer than this. Okay, wait. Documents and downloads section. Documents and downloads. I found it. Look for the file title Reported Crimes in the Nation 2024. Oh, I don't want state by state. I will find this fucking thing. Swear to God, damn it. Federal tables, maybe? Damn, I gotta be out here unzipping files. What the hell? Oh, well, now I can't fucking read Word. Well, that's some horse shit. All right, so this is less than ideal. But I think the point still stands. Let me try one more thing, because I really want to find this. Let's see. Oh, I see. Nope, I don't see. Man. This ginormous fucking... Okay, so I can't... The issue is bringing up a bunch of Excel shit that I can't access. But, because I don't have a Microsoft subscription for that stuff. Let's look at this, though. This is fine, okay? So, 2019. This is updated. This is from the FBI, it seems like. Okay, so let's look at this. Total arrest, okay? So, by the way, I'm not necessarily saying he's wrong here. But just something else to think about here, okay? Total arrest. Race. White. Wait, why is this cut off? Why? That's okay. Da, 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 da. Now, hold on a second. I'm trying to see where that number came from. Because there was a number that the AI gave me. Oops. That's not what I was looking at. Where is the thing I had pulled up? I know I keep saying we're almost done here, but I swear I can find this. Oh, funny story. I don't know if you guys will think this is funny or not, but I think it's funny. I have this shaver thing here, and it's called the what was the name of it? It was so funny. It was like, I don't want to show you until I remember the name. I thought I was going to remember the name. Okay, so admittedly, this sounds like data too. That's just survey data. But that's okay. We'll figure it out. I feel like, here's the thing. Either way, my point is still going to stand. Because I feel like, I don't know why Warren would just say, like, and now this is what the data says, to prove a big point. And then he's just like, and we're just going to assume this is true. Like, why not at least be like, it's important to really fact check this information. I spent a long time looking at it, and it seems like the stats are complicated. But according to this, it's like he does nothing. He does nothing. So these stats are really hard to find, admittedly, but like he could have done something. No, it's not what I want. Why is this showing this? There it is. See, like here's the thing. I see this here. Roughly 60 to 69% of violent incidents are of the same race. Why black individuals are disproportionately involved in violent crime. Study suggests correlates more strongly with social network, whatever. But I don't know why I can't just see that. Like, where does it say that? Maybe the old Wikipedia will tell me. Wikipedia. Why is that pulled up? That's not the thing I clicked on. Go back to you. just start this over. Oops. Damn. I didn't realize how long it takes them to gather this data. That's Wild. Oh, shit. Information. Okay. Why are you lying to me right now? Okay. Table 5. I don't understand. What is this thing? Mm-hmm. Guys, I think we found it. I think we fucking found it. Son of a bitch. We fucking found it. Thank fucking God. Okay. Oh, holy Christ. Let me just do some math real quick. 3541 1947110. Oops, maybe I was supposed to divide those the other way. All right. Let's fucking go. All right. Let's fucking go. Okay. So, this. Now, I will admit, this took me more than 20 minutes to find, okay? However, the point still stands for what I'm about to say. The total number, this is 2023 data, of violent incidences by race or Hispanic origin of victims and offenders. 3,541,060 total violent incidents against white people. The offender race Hispanic slash Hispanic origin, 1,947,110 of them were white. So, even by that definition, it is more likely that you will be hurt by someone of your own race than someone not of your own race. Now, I know that per capita, that may be a different story in terms of the statistics. However, if you really wanted to be safe, since the majority of time, it's not like you don't consider this at all, right? There's still like a shit number of people here, statistically. I think the number I came to was, what was the math I did on this? It was like around 55%. Around 55% of the time, so most of the time, it's someone of your own race doing it against you. So you can even make an argument that even though it is per capita, if I'm understanding this correctly, somebody please correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm not married to this, but again, it's not even like, it's not even wholly to the point. Because the point I'm trying to make here overall is that I don't know why Warren would just throw out these things so flippantly and be like, yeah, we're just going to like trust this. It's like, why not at least show some kind of numbers? Why not at least say the numbers are hard to find, or say, here's some of the data I found that was more updated? Why not show that? Because if you want to be someone who's like thorough and a critical thinker, you would show this. Now, again, I understand the per capita argument, because you're saying like, the argument is, well, we can actually just go back to his video. The black on white crime is like so high, right? Now this is per capita. I don't know if this is per capita. That would actually be something we can look at real quick. No, it doesn't look like this. Okay. Where was I down there? The bigger point here through all this that I still just want to hammer down, like the thing that matters here is you cannot determine who is going to harm you based looking on just their race, right? So, again, I think if hypothetically it is true, not looking at all the stats right now, that per capita, it is the case that like a black person is more likely to commit a crime against a white person. And that is a stronger argument than just these like sheer numbers, than just the 55% likelihood. Though I'm not sold on that. I would have to think about that more. It still doesn't mean that you should look at race as the factor, right? And it's disappointing to me that Warren didn't bring this up. So, again, the broader point I want to make here is just that, like, I don't understand why, and I'll grant it to Warren, these stats took a while to find, but why not at least say, like, go through it and say, like, guys, look, I tried to spend a half hour looking at this or whatever, and I couldn't find anything updated. Or I'm trying to find, like, it tells me that it's a red flag to me that there is a lack of thoroughness. And I think that's still the big concern for me here, right? So, yeah. Because now I'm trying to think, like, I feel like I'm half and half on the whether or not that per capita data like argument would even, like, if I'm trying to steelman this, like, if you had a room of, like, let's just say 5 black people, 5 white people, and then you looked at, like, let's say per capita data said that black person's more likely to commit a crime against a white person or something. But then you had these, like, sheer numbers that said most of the time when white people have a crime committed against them, it's by other white people. It's not obvious to me that you still shouldn't be afraid in this logic of the white people, because it would still be more likely that they would be the ones to hurt you. Am I missing something there? I don't know. Again, I just don't understand why Warren has to. It's just so disappointing for him to lack thoroughness in this way. So, but anyway, finish watching this.
I apologize for the delay. I think Google might have been suppressing it. I had to go to X. And this is from a Bureau of Justice Statistics National Crime Victimization Survey from 2018.
For the sake of this conversation, we're going to assume this is correct.
Well, I'll just...
See, the fact that he's just saying, like, we're going to assume it's correct, it's like, why? Why would we ever, like, assume? I don't understand that. I don't understand that. I'm interested, I wonder if we can find, I don't want to take, like, again, an absorbent amount of time, but I wonder if we can find actually this exact wording here, or this exact thing. Interracial violent incidences per capita of offending race, 2018. Here's another thing I just thought of too. I'm not even sure how much like per capita matters. Because I'm trying to think how to word this. Like I'm trying to. This is what I'm trying to say. If you're in a situation where you were going to do that kind of analysis, and maybe I said this before, but I still feel like what would matter is the likelihood that the thing would happen, not the likelihood that the person you're looking at would commit the crime. Right? So like if you had like, wouldn't that in some instances like equal out in some way, shape, or form? Like if you had 55% total likelihood or whatever that it's like a white on white crime, couldn't that in theory either balance out or cancel out the per capita numbers? Am I thinking about this wrong? Like on this, like let's look at this thing. Why? And then I see this shit from like this is the AI, but this thing's telling me like, and I wish I could. Somebody please verify this seriously because I want to see this Reuters fact check, but I can't subscribe to it. It says data from 2017 shows that 80.2% of white victims were killed by white offenders, while 16.1% were killed by black offenders, as shown on this Reuters fact check. Like, I don't know. Either way, the point for me here is just like that it's so. This is just not how we should be looking at this.
Bureau of
And
Justice
I think what's most disappointing is throughout this whole damn thing, Warren does not point that out. Warren is not thorough enough to recognize what the real issue is here.
Should also investigate because I have seen false accusations fly.
Yeah.
And then Brian presents the data.
Finally, I apologize for the delay. I think Google might have been suppressing it. I had to go to X. And this is from a Bureau of Justice Statistics National Crime Victimization Survey from 2018.
For the sake of this conversation, we're going to assume this is correct.
Well, I'll just do, okay, so white on black 30, black on white,
Sorry.
1,200 survey from 2018.
For the sake of this conversation, we're going to assume this is correct.
Well, I'll just do, okay, so white on black 30, black on white.
Why does it, dude? I'm trying to rewind just a little further, and like the 5-second thing is throwing me off.
Finally,
Last
I
time.
apologize
Sorry.
for the delay. I think Google might have been suppressing it. I had to go to X. And this is from a Bureau of Justice Statistics National Crime Victimization Survey from 2018.
For the sake of this conversation, we're going to assume this is correct.
Well, I'll just do, okay, so white on black 30, black on white, 1,288 versus 30 for white on black.
This absolutely contradicts the entire narrative Charlie has laid to this point.
Well, gee, Chuck, it seems like, based on what you just said earlier, if I could demonstrate this to you, you said that you would advise your little sister to cross the street. Do you hold to that?
And even after all of this, she refuses to change her mind.
Nah, because I think it's white boys that are getting beat up.
I wouldn't even bother my sister with this data because it's probably just applying to white boys. I'm not sure where you even go from here with someone like this.